Today I'm going to be doing a SQL injection of Metasploitable 2 using Kali Linux. For this exploitation, I'm going to use three different tools: VirtualBox, Metasploitable 2, and Kali Linux. VirtualBox is the application that the virtual machines will be running on. Metasploitable 2 is the vulnerable Linux virtual machine that is going to be exploited, and Kali Linux is an operating system that is going to be exploiting Metasploitable 2. Some background information on the penetration test that I'll be doing today is it's a simple exploitation of one of the open ports in Kali Linux. We're going to be using a dictionary attack using the auxiliary scanner, and we're actually going to be attacking the SSH login, which is used to pair up usernames and passwords until it gets the right one. So the first thing that we need to do to start the demo is we need to power up our virtual machine. So what we have to do for that is we have to actually open up VirtualBox and have both of our machines ready to be powered on, and then we can start the penetration testing. Now that we have powered up Metasploitable 2, what we have to do next is log in so that we can get to all the different vulnerabilities through Kali Linux. So what you have to do is, once it's set up, it's going to look like it does in the top left corner, and then it will ask you to log in. So to log in, all you have to do is use the default username and password, which is msfadmin, and that will get you into the system so that you can exploit it. Next, what we need to do is we need to figure out what IP address that Metasploitable 2 is running on. So to do that, we need to type in the command ifconfig into Metasploitable 2, and after you type that in and press enter, it will load up all this information about the system. What we need for this specific penetration test is we need where the arrow is, the inet address, and then the IP address that's right there, and that's what we're going to use to connect with Kali Linux. Now that we have the IP address from Metasploitable 2, we need to power up our Kali Linux virtual machine so that we can exploit the vulnerabilities in Metasploitable 2. So what you do for that is you power it up, it will load up, and you need to log in. So you press enter and it comes up a login screen, and you do the default username, which is root, and the password that you have set for it previously, whatever that may be. Once you have logged in to Kali Linux, you are going to have a screen with a bunch of things on the side, and we need to click on the terminal. We need to go into the terminal in Kali Linux because that will allow us to do the penetration testing for Metasploitable 2. And then we can scan the IP address and figure out the ports that are open. So what you have to do is you need to use the command nmap and then -S capital V and the IP address. This will bring up all the ports and will help us decide which one we want to exploit. For this specific penetration testing, we are going to be using port 22, which is the SSH port, or the secure shell. So now that we have seen all the ports that are open and we've decided that we're going to go after the exploit on port 22, which is the secure shock, the SSH, we need to open Metasploit, which is an application in Kali Linux, and that's what we're going to use to crack the password. Once it loads up, you will need to use the command, which is the standard dictionary attack to crack the password, is use and then auxiliary /scanner/ssh/ssh_login. What we need to do next, after we've already put in the command to use auxiliary scanner, we need to set the host. And basically the command you need is set our host and the IP address. And what this does is this is just the parameter that defines the remote address, which is the IP address. Then you need to use a similar command, which is set our port, and that just picks the port that we want to attack, and we're going to attack port 22, so we would put set our port 22. Next, we need to set the user file and the pass file. So we set both of those, and we set them to root desktop user.txt and root desktop / pass.txt. Now that we have set the host, which is through the IP, the port on 22, and we've set the user file and the pass file to the desktop and to the pass text so that we can create a file so that it can be stored in, we just have to do the final step, which is to type exploit and press enter. And what this do is this will run everything, and it will match up the username and the password until it is the correct one. So now that we've gotten the password to the shell of Metasploitable, we're going to go back into the terminal of Kali Linux, and we are going to type in SSH MSF admin and the IP address. And what this is the SSH is the service that we're using, MSF admin is the password, and the IP address is. In conclusion, doing this penetration test, I've determined, and doing the research, that through some very simple commands that you put into a terminal of a virtual machine, or possibly any machine if this vulnerability is there, it's very harmful to the system because it gives you the access to the username and password, and will go through and tell you which one is the right one, and then gives you access to the system. In terms of this vulnerability still being existing, I do not believe that it does, because it would be very harmful, and it's also a very easy thing for people to do, and systems would become very vulnerable and people would not want to use the system if they had this very simple vulnerability to it. So I do not believe that it exists from